The 76ers are trusting the veterans and ready to be a 2018 NBA playoff team. Yes, we're going there. Obviously, a lot of things have to go right to make this happen, starting with health across the board, but the Philadelphia 76ers have the pieces in place to be a playoff team next NBA season. The free agency additions of sharpshooter J.J. Redick and defensive ace Amir Johnson on Saturday will help groom a startlingly talented young core while also being the kinds of on-court presences missing from this roster. Let's review that roster for a second. First, yes, that's probably a few extra players compared to what they will start the season holding. Second-rounder Bolden's no guarantee to make the roster this year, while the team probably should make a decision on Holmes versus Okafor while they both still have some semblance of trade value. Bayless, the veteran they added last offseason who spent the whole year hurt, doesn't have a particularly clear role either. All that said, that's a really good roster, as the players will tell you. The point guard position is the weakest, unless Fultz exceeds expectations in year one. But they're expecting Simmons to run the offense anyway, and reports out of Philadelphia have basically suggested the Australian is ready to roll into the Rookie of the Year award at first tip next season. He's improved every facet of the game, and his injury history isn't nearly as scary as Embiid's. Embiid is the wild card here, of course. When he was on the court last season, he was not only the best rookie in the league by a mile, but also good enough to have the 76ers putting up a playoff-level points differential in his 786 minutes. If he stays healthy and plays about 70 games, this playoff thing shouldn't be a big issue. Why? Because the Eastern Conference, for one. Trades of Jimmy Butler and Paul George open up 2 playoff spots, while everything is leaning toward Paul Millsap leaving the conference as well to open up a third. The 76ers have set themselves up with deeper talent pools and much higher upside than the Detroit Pistons and Charlotte Hornets, 2 teams that stumbled last season. The Miami Heat should be a playoff threat, especially if they pull in Gordon Hayward, but they needed career-best stretches from Dion Waiters and James Johnson to get to 41-41 last year. It's too much to ask one guy to fix a defense, but Johnson will have plenty of assistance because Embiid and Covington already are excellent on that end. It's too much to ask one guy to stretch the floor, but Redick should find help in Bayless, Stauskas, Covington and Embiid while Saric, Barrett and Fultz have shown potential. What Johnson, Redick and possibly Bayless will be asked to do is provide leadership. They've all been in the NBA for a decade, and they've experienced winning and losing. They're the exact kind of guiding voices that Philadelphia lacked in previous years, something every NBA coach will tell you is important to have in the locker room. Both Johnson and Redick only signed for 1 year, but that year could make a big difference as this team sorts out its many options for the future. None of this makes the 76ers perfect. Redick and Johnson are hardly game-changing talents. But Embiid looks like he is, and Fultz and Simmons might be. The 76ers also still could have a number 1 pick or another high pick in one or both of the next 2 drafts to get even more franchise-defining talent. Though it's Brian Colangelo, not Sam Hinkie, making these movies, this isn't the end of the process. It's the next step toward delivering a finished product. Manny Pacquiao aims to impress, teach Jeff Horn a lesson. Nothing or no one will convince Manny Pacquiao to hang up his gloves, even after his decision win over Timothy Bradley in April of last year. Remember how he said he would retire? Pacquiao continued his career after the highlight reel knockout loss to Juan Manuel Marquez in December of 2012. Neither did the boring decision loss to Floyd Mayweather 2.5 years later. Even his responsibilities as a senator in the Philippines are not enough to give up the sport. With numerous opportunities on the horizon, including a possible clash against unbeaten Terence Crawford, Pacquiao is going to continue marching forward. There will be a lot on the line Saturday night when Pacquiao paces up his gloves for the 68th time as a professional. He faces off against an unbeaten underdog in Jeff Horn at the Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, Australia. The fight will air live on ESPN. beginning at 9 p.m. ET, 6 p.m. PT. It will mark the first time the future Hall of Fame fighter will fight on basic cable in the United States and the first time in 12 years Pacquiao will not fight on a pay-per-view platform. The fight card is the first in a new multi-year agreement between ESPN and Top Rank, which promotes Pacquiao. ESPN will broadcast Top Rank cards, mostly on Friday and Saturday nights. Pacquiao, 59-6-2, with 38 knockouts, has not fought since a one-sided 12-round decision victory over Jesse Vargas on November 5. Pacquiao won the WBO World Welterweight title in the process. The southpaw from General Santos City in the Philippines is not the same fighter to buzz through future Hall of Fame fighters over the last several years, such as Eric Morales, Timothy Bradley, and Marco Antonio Barrera, defeating all three fighters twice. With the accolades from the success in the ring have also come the criticism from boxing scribes and fans, mostly at Pacquiao for not knocking out his opponents. It is a stupid criticism, considering most of Pacquiao's opposition have been physically bigger or have strong chins. Pacquiao has dropped the likes of Bradley, Jesse Vargas, Shane Mosley and Chris Algieri in recent fights. He has also battered the likes of Antonio Margarito and Brandon Rios, even though he did not score a knockdown. Again, Pacquiao wins fights. Does it really matter if he has to knock out his opposition? Despite his age and lack of knockout power from critics, Pacquiao is still an elite fighter, easily amongst the top 5 best welterweights in boxing today. Pacquiao will square off against a fighter who is 10 years younger and has about 4 times less fights than Pacquiao. Horn, 16-0-1, with 11 KOs, is the mandatory challenger to Pacquiao's world title, but has not fought anyone close to the fighters Pacquiao has faced in the last 10 years. Aside from a longer reach and a 4-inch height advantage, the only thing Horn has in his favor is that he is fighting in his hometown, where a crowd of over 50,000 is expected. Pacquiao is not overlooking Horn. "Jeff Horn is okay," said Pacquiao after a recent workout earlier this week. "I've watched videos of his fights. He brings a lot of action into the ring. I know what he is feeling, because I remember everything about my first world title fight. I am ready for Jeff to come out and be aggressive. If he does that, it will be a great fight for the fans." There is talk of a fight of Pacquiao fighting in the Philippines in the fall, but promoter Bob Arum is hoping to put together a fight between Pacquiao and unbeaten WBC/WBO junior welterweight title holder Terence Crawford, who hails from Omaha, Nebraska, for a fight in the Philippines or against Crawford to take place this fall. Pacquiao cannot afford a loss to Horn. Pacquiao's edge has returned as he reportedly knocked down sparring partners on 2 different occasions in preparation for the Horn fight. Even Pacquiao had some parting words for Horn, who used to be a school teacher before dedicating himself to the sweet science. "I know Jeff Horn used to be a teacher. In the ring, I'm a teacher too." United States beats Ghana in a friendly, as World Cup auditions begin. East Hartford, Connecticut. More than a month ago, U.S. Soccer quietly confirmed its hotel and training base for next summer's World Cup in Russia. The federation has also sent officials to investigate bus companies, travel routes and restaurants, and a separate group scouted possible day trips for friends and family who will follow the team to Russia. What U.S. Soccer has not done yet, team officials and coach Bruce Arena say regularly with knock-on-wood superstition, is claim a place in the tournament. "We're not in a situation where we are projecting for the opening game of the 2018 World Cup yet," Arena said again Friday. "We still have to qualify. Still, the Americans have played in every World Cup since 1990, and, appropriate qualifications aside, they fully expect to do so again. For now, the critical work of preparing for the tournament, identifying players, teaching them the way Arena wants to play, and then forging a unit out of an ever-rotating pool of talent, continues." The first look came Saturday during a 2-1 victory in a friendly against Ghana. Next will be as many as 6 games this month in the CONCACAF Gold Cup. For these games, Arena has given many of his top choice players a rest. In their place on the 23-man roster are some other veterans and a host of new faces and second-tier players, all hoping to catch the coaching staff's eye a year before the World Cup. A couple did that on Saturday. Forward Dom Dwyer slammed in a deflection to open the scoring 19 minutes into his debut with the national team, and Ken Acosta doubled the lead with a scorching free kick hit low around a wall in the 52nd minute. But they and the other players in comp this month also know a hard truth: whatever they do in the next month, most of them will watch the World Cup from home. Players in their situation don't have a lot of opportunities, so this is probably their best opportunity to show something, Arena said. Clearly, they understand the fact that this competition, not only tomorrow but the Gold Cup, is going to be important for them. While Arena is familiar with many of the players from his coaching days in Major League Soccer, 10 have never been on a team of his before. More than a dozen players on the roster have made 10 or fewer appearances with the national team, but each sees this month's opportunity through his own lens. Goalkeeper Brad Guzman, Tim Howard's longtime backup, has his sights on a starting role. Defender Jorge Vilafana, whose first call-up came in January, and Acosta, a 21-year-old Texan, have quickly earned Arena's trust and will want to keep it. The Chicago Fire's Dax McCarty, 30, is probably facing his last chance to convert the respect he has gained in Major League Soccer into a national team career. If you'd have asked me at this time last year, I would have said, yeah, my national team career is dead, McCarty said. But now I've been in every camp under Bruce, and I've gotten great feedback from him and the coaching staff. I haven't played too many games, obviously, because the defensive midfield position is one that's got some pretty good players in it. But for me, it's just another opportunity to prove that I deserve to be part of the team. The new faces might be even more intriguing. Dwyer, a British-born striker, and midfielder Kenny Saeed, a 23-year-old who has played for Israel's youth team, both changed their citizenship status this year to join the United States team. Kellen Rowe, who had a strong game at midfield Saturday in his national team debut, acknowledged that Russia remained a long way off. But, he said, you've got to go in every day thinking you're going to make it. You've just got to be patient, and somebody's going to notice. U.S. Soccer likes to point out that solid performances in the Gold Cup have catapulted players on the fringes of the national team into more prominent roles in the World Cups that followed. Clint Dempsey, in 2005, and Omar Gonzalez, in 2013, are two current regulars who helped themselves immensely in Euro camps like this one. So did defender Matt Besler. He started 4 games in the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, less than 18 months after his first appearance for the national team. Now 30, he hopes to use this summer's camp to show Arena that he deserves to stay in the mix for 2018. We're only about a year out from Russia, Besler said. That's not very long. We want to start preparing and setting the tone. Arena was coy Friday about how many spots are in play for Russia. In my opinion, he said, there are a lot. After the victory over Ghana, which avoided a shutout with a curling free kick by Asamoah Gyan in the 60th minute, the Americans turned their focus to first-round Gold Cup games against Panama, Saturday in Nashville, Martinique, July 12 in Tampa, Florida, and Nicaragua, July 15 in Cleveland. If Arena emerges from the tournament with some promising new faces, that will be fine. But it is not, he said, the goal. The objective here is really pretty short-term, he said. I don't think anybody is going to be really happy if we don't qualify for the World Cup and I discover players for the future.